Hello children, welcome back. Hope all of you enjoy learning through our video lessons. Today we are going to see the structural details of the nucleus. I told you nucleus is one of the most important organelle of the cell. And before going to the details of the structure of the nucleus, let us see some of its function. And I told you in the previous video, nucleus is to be considered as a brain of the, it is to be considered as a brain of the cell. You know why? Since it has a genetic material, in our case, genetic material, not only in our case, almost all our higher forms, all the higher forms, the genetic material is DNA, you know this, deoxyribose nucleic acids. And in lower forms it is, or in case of viruses and all, RNA. Even though we have RNA, our genetic material is DNA, okay? Since it has a genetic material, the nucleus has the ability to control each and every functions happening inside the cell, and that's why we have to consider this as the brain of the cell, okay? And it carries the genetic informations like the hereditary information. And for the first time a scientist called Robert Brown, who was that? Robert Brown. He was the one who discovered nucleus in the year 1831. Robert Brown discovered nucleus for the first time. And before going to the details, the structural details of the nucleus, I just want to say that, in some cases, some lower organism, you could not see any perfect, well-defined nucleus. So based on the presence or absence of well-defined nucleus, you could classify organisms into two, and they are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Which are they? Prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Pro means primitive, or even we could say the first formed, primitive ones. Karyon means nucleus. Karyon is nucleus. So in case of prokaryotes, you could not see any well-defined nucleus. It is just represented in the form of a circular DNA. An excellent example for prokaryote is, bacteria. Or even, in case of blue-green algae, and that is also a prokaryote. Blue-green algae. You could not see any well-defined nucleus, and there the nucleus is just represented in the form. In case of, a bacteria, you just see the nucleus is just represented in the form of a circular DNA. And we could not call this as nucleus even, and that is to be called as nucleoid. What is that? Nucleoid. And that is the case with the prokaryote. They don't have well-defined membrane-bound nucleus. And that is completely absent. Not only the nucleus, and all other cellular organelles are also absent in case of prokaryotes. And whereas in eukaryotes, eu means true. Nucleus, karyons, I told you it is nucleus. So in eukaryotes, well-defined nucleus which is present. And that you could see in case of all higher plants and animals. Understood? So don't forget, based on the presence or absence of a nucleus, a well-defined nucleus, organism can be classified into two, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, they have just, it is represented in the form of a circular DNA, that is to be called as nucleoid. And whereas eukaryotes, a well-defined nucleus is present. Now let us see the structural details of the eukaryotic nucleus. And before that, I just want to say that in some fungi and all, each and every cell might be having more than one nucleus. So based on the presence of, based on the number of nucleus, we can say, the cell as uninucleate cell. If it has one nucleus, uninucleate cell. Or if it has two, we have to call it as binucleate. If it has more than two, it is called, multinucleate. This is based on the number of nucleus. Mostly in higher forms, it is uninucleate. Understood? So this is based on number of nucleus. Uninucleate, binucleate, multinucleate. Let us draw the structure of nucleus. Yeah. Now, if I'm trying to represent a nucleus, like in case of animal cell. I'm just doing in case of animal cell because I told you in case of animal cell, nucleus is placed at the center. This I am just trying to show you the position of the nucleus in a cell. Okay, and nucleus, it is a circular shaped round bodies, a prominent structure which is seen in the cell, and that is a nucleus. It is a membrane bound organelle. Don't forget, not only nucleus, almost all the organelles present in the cell, and it has a well defined membrane. And same in the case of what is that, plasma membrane. It is made up of phospholipid bilayer. Same like that, all organelles have the phospholipid bilayer constitution, and which is made up of that phospholipid bilayer. Okay, and just here in case of nucleus, it has membrane. It has two membrane, and an outer nuclear membrane and an inner nuclear membrane. Let me just represent outer nuclear membrane and inner nuclear membrane. See that here, this is the outer nuclear membrane. Outer nuclear membrane. And this is inner nuclear membrane. Okay, and the outer and inner nuclear membrane, they are not continuous structures. You could see that here I left some gaps in between, and these are called as pore. What is that? Nuclear pore. What is this? Nuclear pore. And this nuclear pore is meant for the transportation of molecules in and out from the nucleus. That is from cytoplasm to nucleus, and from nucleus to cytoplasm. The molecules are being transported, and that is through this nuclear pore. And there is a space between the nuclear membrane, and this is called the perinuclear space. Perinuclear space. Okay, and this perinuclear space is filled with perinuclear fluid also. Now the entire components of the nucleus, and we have to call it as nucleoplasm. What is that? Nucleoplasm. In cell, the fluid matrix, excluding the nucleus, we have called it as cytoplasm. So the fluid matrix seen inside the cell, it is called cytoplasm. The fluid matrix inside the nucleus, it is to be called as nucleoplasm. Understood? And nucleoplasm has some enzymes, RNA and all these ones, and even other things are also embedded on that. Okay, and then if you see in case of non-dividing cell, and inside the nucleoplasm you could see highly network like, you see how I draw highly network like structures, and we have to call this as chromatin material or chromatin reticulum. What is that? Chromatin reticulum. And this is made up of DNA and protein. Nucleus has a genetic material DNA, and now you should know that the chromatin material is made up of DNA and protein. Understood? Now I told you, you could see chromatin material only in case of non-dividing cell. Once a cell starts to divide, the nuclear membrane will disappear. The chromatin material will condense, and it forms, the chromosome. What is this? Chromosome. And that we have 23 pairs of chromosome, or I should say that 46 chromosome in each and every cell of your body. You have 46 chromosome. This is unique for each organism. And in our case, we have 46 chromosome in each cell. And you could see chromosome only in case of cell which is about to divide. If the cell is a non-dividing cell, now you could see the genetic material in the form of You could see highly network-like structures, that is called chromatin, which is made up of DNA and protein. I told you once a cell is about to divide, chromatin material will condense and form specific numbers of chromosomes. So of course chromosomes are also made up of DNA and protein, don't forget. Okay, and you know that chromosome has genes, am I right? For each and every character what you have, every feature you have, and you have genes on that. See, for example, your hair color, hair nature, what color you have, what characters you have, what all different characters you have, whatever it is, whichever features you have. For that you have genes on chromosome. Don't forget, these are one or the other forms, the chromatin and the chromosome. Chromatin you could see in case of non-dividing cell, and once the cell starts to divide, chromatin will condense and it forms the chromosome. Okay, and the further details of the chromosome you'll be learning later. Anyway, come back to here the nucleus structure. Then inside the nucleus, the nucleoplasm of the nucleus, you could see some round bodies. It made a present like this, some round bodies, and we have to call it as nucleolus. What is that? Nucleolus. And the function of nucleolus is, is the formation of RNAs and also for, the ribosomal formation, the formation of ribosomes. Okay, and that's the structure of the nucleus. Let me say it again. A nucleus is a round body, prominent structures, brain of the cell. In case of plant cell, it is shifted to one side because of the position of a big vacuole. Don't forget it. Whereas in case of animal cell, it is centrally placed because the vacuoles are smaller ones. Am I right? And here the nucleus is a double membrane structure, and it has two membrane, outer nuclear membrane and inner nuclear membrane. The space between the two, it is called perinuclear space, and the perinuclear space is filled with the perinuclear fluid. And the nuclear membrane is not continuous, it has pores, and the spore is called nuclear pore, and the spore is for the transport of molecules across, in and out from the nucleus. And then coming to the inner entire contents of the nucleus, we have to call as nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm has highly network-like structures, which is called chromatin reticulum, that is made up of DNA and protein. And this chromatin material, chromatin reticulum, it condenses in case of a dividing cell and forms chromosome. Okay, and then the nucleus also has some round bodies inside, which is called nucleolus. And this nucleolus is meant for the formation of RNAs and also for the ribosomes. And here don't forget, this is the brain of the cell, because since it has genetic material, it can control each and every functions of the cell, and that's why we call it as the brain of the cell. They are the carriers of genetic information, and this is the most important organelle of the cell. Hope it is understood. Thank you.